Hey everyone, I hope you are all doing well. This is a beginner course on ETFs and investing. So if you want to save this, go ahead. It's a nice presentation. The link will be in the bio. Anyone can access this presentation for your ease of reference. I know it really helps when it lays it out rather than just someone talking for 25-30 minutes. This lays out it all in about a 6-minute video. So let's get started. But first, let's go through this little, 1, 2, 3 system. So step one is to understand that this is a beginning guide to investing, meaning this isn't going to go into complex detail. You might need to do some research on some definitions, and you might need to do your own homework on which ones you should choose in regards to ETFs. I'm going to go through the main examples that a lot of people do, but of course you can choose any. It's also going to focus on steady growth. This isn't a marathon. This is not a race. This is a thing that you're going to do for 30, 40 years. Start in your 20s if you're in your 20s. If you're in your 30s, start now. If you're in your 40s, my God, you better start now and double down. Open up a second brokerage account, open up an IRA right away, and try to do a 401k with employer match. This is something that you're going to want to do for 30 years. Also, for beginners, start with the 3 ETFs that are mostly people's holdings. It's simple. Don't have to do so much complicated research. And we're going to go through those in a little bit. So why invest? Investing is really, really important for yourself and your family and your future and for your mental health. Savings is different than investing. Savings is like, oh my God, I saved $50 today. It's in my account. I saved $3,000. I have a emergency fund. That grows very little. If you're in a regular bank, it'll grow nothing basically. And if you're in a high yield savings, it'll grow about 3%. But investing, you can get anywhere between 8 to 20% typically per year, which will mean that you will retire early if you do this right, if you max out and if you do it for 30 years. Early, early, early is very important. If you are in your 20s, I am telling you, you'll have a few million more than someone who starts in their 30s if you save the same amount, which is crazy. And it'll basically let you sleep at night. After a few years, you'll be like, wow, I have 50, 60, 70 grand. When you started, you had 20. It feels good. So keep it simple. Choose ETFs that are nice and clean, nice and simple. Don't do anything fancy. Don't do what someone tells you unless you do a lot of research. Don't do the next hype move. If you have the true and steady ETFs that have been around for a while, you should do all right. And then this is a starting point. Again, you could do research into specific types of ETFs that are sector based, but this isn't going to be sector based. This is going to be more broad based. So I highly recommend that you look into a high growth fund, meaning you'll gain a lot of money and it gains more percent per year than the S&P. A total market, which is typically tracking the S&P, the Nasdaq, or the Dow, and invest in between 500 and 3,000 stocks individually, and a dividend fund, which is less growth, but it pays you on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. So an ETF is basically what it says, an exchange traded fund. It is a group of stocks rather than just one stock. So if you have no clue what you're doing, don't want to buy individual stocks like Nvidia, Coke, Broadcom, and all the major players, you buy an ETF which buys all of those. So you have shares of every single stock that they're investing in that ETF rather than just a few. And then that ETF is actively typically managed, so it buys and sells the stocks, and then it rebalances your portfolio automatically by the market and those experts. It also has a low cost. You're going to want to see a low cost. Don't really be in an ETF unless it's absolutely crazy and it's paying you a fortune, if it's like a 1% fee, because that adds up and it'll really, over 30 years, take a lot of your money. And it has a really good diversification ETF because it's investing in tons of different stocks rather than one, so your risk is less. All right, so let's go into a high growth ETF. This is typically QQQ. When you hear a high growth ETF, that's what people think. A new one is SMH, which is popping off a lot, so be careful with that one. This invests in really growing companies that are really, really doing well and that are going to expect to have really good performance. A lot of risk with these, though, too, because if the company doesn't do well, it misses an earnings report, you'll see this tank. But overall, if you look at QQQ's history, it's done really well and has gone up, up, and up. So typically, you're going to make a lot of money. This is good for beginners because it is a growth fund. So if you're, it's going to be a beginner and young. You're going to want to have more risk. So be in a high growth fund. Just choose one. Total stock market fund is a little less risky because rather than just being in high growth, you're going to be in a total stock index, meaning it tracks the best performing stocks in the S&P or all of the S&P, the best performing in the Dow or some of the Dow. some of the NASDAQ. Now, this means if one goes down, one stock, let's say Coke, but you have Pepsi and they release a new Pepsi flavor and did really well, that diversifies your risk. Because if one stock goes down, you still have 500 to 3,000 others. So this is a good pair. A total stock market fund is a good pair with a growth fund. Next, you're going to want to look at a dividend fund. This has less growth. I'm not kidding. The growth is usually between 2 and 5%. Some years it'll be more. The best favorite is SCHD or VIG. And you'll see that dividend funds invest in companies that have been around forever, that pay dividends, and that have really low risk in the market and volatility. So this one's going to be a steady course. There's not going to be crazy gains for the companies, and they're going to pay you on a monthly basis. So if you're in a tax bracket where you're fearing that you're going to be in the next tax bracket, watch out, because most of the time dividends are going to be taxed because they're money that you make. So make sure you just set it on automatic reinvesting so it goes right back into your investment accounts. Because if you keep it, what's it going to do for you? 50 bucks, 100 bucks if you're just starting. Experienced investors who have a lot of dividend market share will get like a few thousand a month, and people use that to retire on. They keep the dividends as their monthly income. A sample portfolio with a very clean, easy rebalance feature would be a 50% total stock, 30% high growth, and 20% SHD, which is a dividend. A more conservative approach would be 40% total stock, 20% growth, 40% dividend. Very aggressive, which is what I'm in, and what people who are younger typically want to do is 40% total, 50% growth, and 10% dividend. And then as you get older, you'll change those percentages around. So I want to close with some helpful tips in the next 2 slides. Start small. Just get simple, clean ETFs and do the monthly minimums. And then when you get more comfortable, you can do more ETFs, open up another brokerage rather than just an IRA, and then invest triple double, however much you want. Avoid trying to time the market. Don't be one of those hype boys that look at upcoming news and then try to time a dip, try to time the perfect purchase. Just buy monthly. January 1st, February 1st, March 1st. Set your calendar and set automatic investments for the monthly minimum until you reach the that year's total that you're allowed to contribute. Right now in an IRA it's $7,500 and it's 20-ish something thousand for your 401k. Reinvest your dividends. Don't keep them. Don't buy chocolate. Don't buy candy. Don't buy knickknacks. Just have your when you get paid the dividend, have it automatically go back by just setting up when you're on your website for your features for your, let's just say you're in Wealthfront or if you're in Fidelity, just set it to automatic reinvesting. Same thing for the portfolio review. Set it for automatic rebalance. Have them do it. It'll rebalance your portfolio if it gets out of whack. Let's just say it is 45% total stock, but you want it 40. It'll rebalance and then make sure that you're in your allocation. And then keep learning, stay informed, and do research. Some final tips: keep it simple. Don't do anything crazy if you don't know what you're doing. Consistency over time. Every month, buy. Focus on ETFs rather than individual stocks if you're new. And do research. Build confidence so then you could teach people. You could teach your family. You could help them. I hope this was helpful for everyone. This link for the presentation will be in the bio or the description, but I'm sure you can just screen grab, screen share. Hope everyone has a great day.